Excellent. Looks like we're on. And let me know if you can see or hear me. Come on. Hey, Science Streams, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. Good to have you here. Yeah. Excellent. What's shaking, Blint? All right. Claire Burr, Izzy Black, welcome, welcome. How are you doing? I was not expecting to do a video today, but yeah, just thought I'd show you this. I'm here right now at Western Wyoming Community College, on my way out to the field today. I'm going to be digging for, well, setting up camp for the Dinosaur dig everybody helped fund. Thank you so much for that, everybody. Yeah, on my way out here, I got here a little bit earlier than the rest of my crew, so while I'm waiting for them, decided to check out these really cool skeletons, and I thought I would take you along for the ride. So, yeah, good to see you too, Lenina. Thanks for being here. Papier Cuts, Dragon Fairy, what's shaking? Great to have you. Yeah. This might end up just eliminating my battery here, but let me pull up chat on here so I can say hello to everybody. All right, where did that go? There we go, my wrist strap for the phone, so I can look at chat. And Quinn the Fossilman, hey, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. Quinn is a member of my crew, everybody. You'll meet him maybe tonight or maybe tomorrow. But, yeah. They are on their way here right now. But I got here early, and so while I'm waiting, I figured I'd do a quick live stream. Hey, Tommy Platicus, what's up with you? Good to see you. Yeah. All right, put this on right here so I can see chat, keep track of everybody. There we go. Excellent. Yeah. And John Drilloon, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. Yeah. Yeah, and Lady Niobe, Dinosaur Dig in Wyoming? Yes, indeed. Can anyone volunteer for those? I don't know about for our crew. It's mostly people that we know, but there are definitely other opportunities. If you ever make your way down to Utah, I know the crew from the Burpee Museum, they're always looking for volunteers, and they would be happy to have you, I'm sure. I don't know if you'd want to come out to where we're going to be digging. It's going to be pretty rough and tumble, I think. But yeah. So excellent. Yeah. I'm keeping my voice down because I don't want to be too obnoxious here. But yeah. Let's see if I can get this thing slung over my shoulder, and I'll show you some of these really cool displays. We've got a Stegosaurus, we've got a big old Elasmosaur, huge Elasmosaur, and a Triceratops over there too. So let's go have a look, shall we? There we are. Okay, cool. Let's see, I'm just gonna leave this sitting right here. And, yeah. Well, first off, let's, well, let me turn screen rotation off on here. Let's see. And, that's odd, where'd it go? Auto rotate off, there we go. Yeah. But right here, we've got one of everybody's favorite dinosaurs, Stegosaurus. Yeah. And I'm really impressed with just the closer you can get to skeletons like this, the bigger they look. And this is truly impressive. So this is the same skull that I actually have in my office, although I'm now realizing I printed mine too large. This is the actual size for these here. Yeah, so this is the University of Wyoming Stegosaurus specimen they've got over in Laramie, I believe. But yeah, it is a big animal. There's a lot of things about this skeleton that we would change nowadays based on what we know about stegosaurs. For instance, you've got that tail dragging along the ground right there. We might have too many dorsal plates, too. I counted 21 on this earlier. I'm sure they probably vary. I wouldn't be shocked if stegosaur plate number actually varied between individuals of the same species alive at the same time. But yeah. Not the beast is that is a small skull for a creature that size. It definitely is. These were probably not, grazers walking around, just hoovering up all the plant material in sight. These guys are probably pretty selective feeders. You can see how narrow that skull is. Probably pretty picky eaters. Yeah. Yeah. Should I boop the snoot? There is he. Very gently. Boop. Yeah. Stegosaurus. It's funny too. The scaps and the scapulae are mounted really far forward, which makes the animal's neck look really, really short. These should actually be a little bit further back, I think, because stegosaurs like this, they've actually got, not the shortest of necks, and the neck would probably come up at an angle too, like, not low slung like this, but probably a little bit more upright, more alert looking. Look at those forelimbs and those hind limbs. Look at the disparity. Just the difference in the length between those hind legs and those arms. Really cool. These animals are probably pretty well adapted for rearing up on their hind limbs. At least, looking at the pelvic girdle on this animal, that makes a lot of sense to me. That they could kind of stand up on two legs if they're trying to browse high up in the treetops or something like that. But it's still kind of a mystery what exactly these animals are eating plant-wise. It's easy to imagine them being kind of specialist feeders. Maybe being pretty picky. Maybe they're only eating or mostly eating things like cycad fruit or, I don't know, horsetails or something. But I don't know. Yeah. There's much work to be done on ornithischian dinosaurs and what in particular they were eating. Avocado toast, perhaps, says Jim. These guys evolved. The Stegosaurus itself was about 145 million years before the invention of avocado toast. Or avocados, for that matter. Yeah. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah. And thank you, Creatrix Braid, for those 14 months of support. I appreciate that. Yeah. Very nice. And then who in the chat can tell me what this is right here? What's become the official term published in the literature for this array of tail spikes there? Anybody tell me? Yeah, there you go, Jim, the thagomizer. This array of tail spikes, most likely used for defense. We actually have a number of theropod dinosaurs with really grievous injuries to certain bones in their bodies. And those at least seem to match up with those wickedly long spikes there. Pretty cool. Yeah. And we've got a hype train going. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate the support. Yeah. And 10 Gletchy. Well, welcome. How are you doing? Well, we're not going to be doing a very long stream today. My crew is going to be getting into town in probably about half an hour. So I'll have to wrap things up then and go meet them to do the shopping and then go set up camp. But, yeah, we're going to be out digging dinosaurs here. I'm very excited about that. And that's what would not have been possible without this community. So thank you, everybody, for contributing during the fundraiser. Our grants fell through and we didn't have any other funding. So we're going to be doing this because of you. So thank you for that. Yeah. Oh, and Conrad with a K, thank you for the 4 months of support. I appreciate that. Yeah. But yeah, look at this reconstruction here. That is really funny looking. No, I like to think of stegosaurs as being kind of sprightly, graceful animals. You know? Almost kind of obnoxious with how showy they were. You look at those dorsal plates on the back. These enormous osteoderms that these animals evolved would have been even longer in life, covered by a keratinous sheath, probably really brightly colored, I would imagine. You're not going to go through the trouble of evolving enormous osteoderms like that for display without having them be brightly colored, in my opinion. So, yeah, it's probably a really garish, almost obnoxious animal. And, you know, here it almost looks kind of ponderous and slow. And, you know, dragging its tail on the ground right there. We know these animals did not drag their tails. That tail should be held aloft, right up in the air like that, waving those dorsal plates around saying, hey, look at me. Yeah. Yeah, very cool. Yeah. And Willem Dafoe, hey, thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Shoot, I should introduce myself for anybody who's wondering who I am or what this is all about. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. I'm out in western Wyoming right now, at the Western Wyoming Community College, currently, taking a look at these skeletal mounts. But yeah, as a dinosaur paleontologist, I dig up dinosaurs. That's what I'm going to be doing for the next about 3 weeks. I'm going to be streaming it. So I'm going to show you what it's like to actually dig up dinosaurs in real time. It's going to be a lot of fun, so I'm so glad you're here, and I hope you stick around. Yeah. And Awkward Cyborg, yeah, I'm done with the conference, which was excellent. Got all packed up, ready for field work, and now we're heading out. So, yeah. Thanks for being here. Yeah. And thank you, D. Maxwell, for the 8 months of support. I appreciate that. Yeah. Here, let me go get my my laptop, so I'm not leaving that over there. As we continue through, I'm going to show you an elasmosaur next. And you're going to be blown away by just how big this elasmosaur is. It's like practically whale-sized. This is a big critter. I think it's probably Elasmosaurus. Yeah. Let me try and one-handedly grab all this stuff. And let's go take a look. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Stegosaurus. Let's go see a non-dinosaur next. Check that out. Yeah. So this is an elasmosaur. So this is a huge ocean-going reptile that lived at the same time as the dinosaurs. Elasmosaurus is from the late Cretaceous period of North America. It's one of the last of the plesiosaurs. So yeah, there's one flipper right there, one of the hind flippers. There's that tail, fairly short tail. Check out this rib cage. Just huge. Pretty impressive. But that is not the most impressive thing about long-necked plesiosaurs like that. The most impressive thing, obviously, is the long neck. So let's take a look at this. It just keeps going. This is one of the longest necks of any ocean animal that's ever lived. Elasmosaurs actually hold the record for having the most vertebrae, the most, neck bones. Most cervical vertebrae of any creature that's ever lived. Some of these guys have over 70 cervical vertebrae, 70 neck bones. So maybe in a minute we'll try and count them. But take a look at that. And then there's some lovely fishes here too. Probably a little bit too big for this animal to swallow, but I don't know how much their jaws could expand in the back. Huh. But these are probably not the kinds of fishes that this animal would be going after on a regular basis. Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. And look at those interlocking teeth like that. What an incredible critter. Yeah, holy cow. But yeah. Should we go ahead and count the vertebrae, maybe? Let's see. Oh, we have a cast of an elasmosaurus at the Orlando Science Center. It might be the same cast, Mayor Space, yeah. This one's also a cast. I say as I try and rearrange my wrist strap so it stops moving around. There we go, that's better. But yeah, so none of what you're going to see here is original. These are casts, so exact copies, replicas of the real thing, with missing pieces sculpted and put in there to make it complete. Yeah, let's see. Let's go ahead and count those verts. We've got Atlas and Axis 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Going around here. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. Let's go back around to the other side. And I'll try and keep my eye on that one so I don't lose count. 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66. Oh, hang on. 66, 65, 64, 63, 62. So about 62 because, well, hang on. 62, 63, 64. I'm going to say 64 cervical vertebrae. Yeah, because at a certain point, the vertebrae transition from being cervical vertebrae, neck vertebrae, to being dorsal vertebrae along the back. Those are the ones that these big ribs attach to. So that's the difference between a cervical vertebra and a dorsal vertebra in a reptile like this. Yeah. So yeah, anyway, holy cow. Lupus triconus says, I love the thought of the recurrent laryngeal nerve in these guys. It's even worse than in giraffes. Yes, indeed. That laryngeal nerve that has to go from the torso all the way up to the head and then back. Because that's just the way that these things work. That's, kind of an inefficiency that's been inherited from the ancestry in tetrapods. Yeah, not a smart design, but, that's not what evolution is about. Evolution is about what works, So yeah, if you were putting this animal together from scratch, you would never build it that way. Nobody intelligent would. But that's how these creatures evolved. We're the same way. We've got that laryngeal nerve that goes up and then has got to come back down. Yeah, if you have a really, really long neck, then that's a long way for it to travel back. Very cool. Yeah. Yeah, isn't that awesome, Alice? Alice says, what a great creature. Really astonishing. It is truly impressive. Let's look at it from the other side over here. Yeah. Look at that. Very, very cool. It's, practically whale-sized. I mean, there are definitely whales that are a lot shorter than this. I mean, this has got to be 40, 45 feet long, so shoot, like almost 15 meters possibly. Pretty impressive. Yeah. And I like how the caudal chevrons along the underside of the tail vertebrae come together like that. And then they come back apart toward the end. I wonder how accurate that is. Very cool. So the way that these animals propelled themselves through the water is with these enormous flippers like this. So those are the phalanges, the same bones that you have in your fingers. Except in this animal, they are multiplied and they are lengthened in order to make this big, powerful paddle. Yeah, it's been kind of a mystery how these animals actually swam. Like, how did they actually use those flippers? Did they kind of fly underwater like a penguin? Or were they more, I don't know, did they kind of alternate in the way that they're using these flippers? And I'm not sure what the modern consensus is about this. Yeah, but very interesting stuff. Yeah. Oh, and Thalo, this is the Western Wyoming Community College Museum's fossil displays here. Yeah. And again, this animal is obviously a predatory animal. You can look at those long interlocking teeth. Would have been great for kind of snaring fishes and maybe cephalopods too, maybe squids, maybe even ammonites. Yeah. But I really love this mount, and I love that they kind of put it on its side like this. That's a great way to get it to fit here in this hall. Some creative use of space here. But it's a swimming animal, you know? Would have been maneuvering all over the place through the water column, so why not put it up on its side like that? Like an aircraft that's banking as it turns or something. Yeah, very cool. Very, very cool. Yeah. And Lady Niobe, yes, it is indeed free to visit and see these. Yeah, cool stuff. Cool stuff. I'll tell you a little story, too, about when Elasmosaurus was first discovered and first published on. Edward Drinker Cope was a paleontologist here in the U.S. just after the Civil War. He was getting his career started, and he had a crew from, I believe, Kansas, who dug up a big marine reptile. And he named it Elasmosaurus. And he thought it was truly unusual. Basically, he got most of it right like this, except he made one major mistake. And that, unfortunately, was putting the head on the wrong end. And so he thought this animal had a super long tail and a very short neck. So imagine putting the head on the end over here and then thinking that that was the tail. That was Cope's mistake. And you might recognize that name, Edward Drinker Cope, from the Great Bone Wars or the Great Bone Rush, this big rivalry between these two American paleontologists, Edward Drinker Cope and Othniel Charles Marsh. And so legend has it that that rivalry kind of came to a head, well, not came to a head, but really got started. That tinderbox was ignited when Othniel Charles Marsh pointed out to Cope that he had gotten his Elasmosaurus backwards. And Cope had already published a manuscript on this. He'd already distributed it far and wide. And Marsh was not very tactful in how he pointed out Cope's mistake. And Cope was mortified. And he tried to buy back, all of the copies of this manuscript so he could have them destroyed to erase his mistake. And supposedly Marsh held on to a bunch of those. And, he tried to never let Cope forget that mistake. And that was, some people say, the thing that really, really sparked this huge rivalry between them, which resulted in tons and tons of dinosaurs being uncovered, studied, described, including Stegosaurus over there that we were looking at earlier. So that was one that Marsh named in the 1870s, I believe. And then later on, in the 1880s, Marsh published another dinosaur, one that you all know and love, Triceratops. So we're going to go take a look at that in just a minute. But yeah. And how fun scientific feuds are, shields above. I mean, yes and no. It was definitely a very productive feud, but given that these two scientists were each trying to outcompete one another, outdo one another in the number of different dinosaurs and other fossil critters that they named, they worked way too quickly and they made a lot of mistakes during that. A lot of mistakes that we're still trying to sort through to this very day. There are a lot of times when the same animal was accidentally described and named twice, or sometimes 3, or sometimes even 4 times. And yeah, there are a lot of mistakes that we are still trying to correct, even in the year 2023. So yeah. Do I think it was a net win, though? That's hard to say. I try to be positive about these things, so I'd say it probably was, but I don't know. Yeah, it's a tough question. It is a tough question. It did result in, I know the rivalry between these two paleontologists did result in the cutting of science funding. Late in the 1800s or around the turn of the century. And scientific funding like that wouldn't really recover for a while. The United States Geological Survey didn't have a staff paleontologist for a number of years, I think, after this. And it was because these guys just could not behave themselves. And, they caused a lot of trouble. There's, like scathing articles. They're just ripping into one another in the New York Herald at the time, which was, one of the biggest newspapers in the country. So it became, front page news in the U.S. And, it did kind of tarnish the science of paleontology for a while. So anyway, let's go check out the Triceratops over here. There we go. Yeah, so this is just over by the front information desk here at the college. Natural History Museum. Very cool. Yeah. So this is another one of Marsh's dinosaurs. Marsh definitely named more dinosaurs than Cope did. And this is one of his most famous. Triceratops horridus. Although some people would call this Torosaurus, but that's a story for another time. But yeah. Kind of an old-fashioned mount here. You see the front limbs are sprawling to the sides like that. This is... we don't really think that they were doing this anymore. See, that elbow is almost at like a 90-degree angle here. And we now reconstruct this animal with maybe not, perfectly vertical forelimbs, but not sprawling this much. That's the funny thing about ceratopsian dinosaurs, the horned dinosaurs like this, is that they actually they hadn't been walking around on all fours for very long. Ceratopsids in particular, the big horned dinosaurs like Triceratops, they're actually a pretty late evolving group of dinosaurs. We only really have them in the late Cretaceous. So for the last, maybe 20 million years of the Cretaceous period, maybe even less than that. So for just a sliver of the amount of time that dinosaurs were here on Earth. But they evolved from bipedal ancestors who walked on 2 legs. And so it's a pretty recent thing for them to have, they got big enough and their heads got massive enough that, they evolved quadrupedality, walking on all fours. But they're still pretty new to that, and that might be why they're a little bit sprawled. They wouldn't have been this sprawled, though. That's the point I want to get across. Yeah. So this is a cast of, I don't remember the specimen number, but it's the one at the American Museum of Natural History in New York City. Probably the most famous Triceratops skeletal mount in the world. Very, very influential. And, and you can see here is a 2D reconstruction here, the animal all fleshed out. This is modeled after that famous painting by paleo artist Charles R. Knight. You can see the tail dragging on the ground, the forelimbs sprawling like that, like the Stegosaurus that we were talking about earlier. This is, it's not exactly correct. There's that tail. Like, pretty much contacting the ground, given that the feet are a little bit up off the ground. That tail would be like, move the ground up and that tail would be on the ground there. They were not like this. They did not actually drag their tails. As far as we know, pretty much no dinosaurs dragged their tails. Yeah. We can tell that by looking at their skeletons and how the bones should be arranged, but also looking at trackways. If these animals are dragging their tails on the ground, you would expect to see a drag mark between their footprints. And we pretty much never see that. So, yeah, it's a slam dunk to say that these animals were not dragging their tails. And look at that big barrel-shaped rib cage there. Just, yeah, pretty interesting. I was talking with some other paleontologists during the conference this last week about how different plant-eating dinosaurs would have fed. What style herbivores were they, you know? Were they hindgut fermenters? Were they, I don't know, doing something different in terms of how they're processing their food? With Triceratops, we do know that they actually processed their food a little bit in their mouths. They did chew to a certain extent. These guys have got what we call a dental battery, so they've got these hundreds of teeth all lined up in a row. And, yeah, this is, we know that they were at least slicing up their food. I guess you could call it chewing, although it would have been a different kind of chewing than what we do. Their teeth actually moved side by, like, they kind of slid past one another, almost like a pair of scissors. It's unlike our teeth that just kind of mash like that. These guys, as they move their lower jaw up and down, those teeth would actually shear past the teeth in the upper jaw. Probably a pretty efficient way of processing food. I don't think there's many animals that do that today. That might be, you know, purely a dinosaurian thing. Yeah. How far would the cheeks go to the beak? That's a great question, Megatronus. We're not really sure. Here in that night reconstruction, you can see it doesn't really have much of a cheek to speak of. We're not totally sure. I've heard different perspectives on ceratopsids like this. Some people think they would have had a cheek that would go all the way up to the beak in order to help with chewing like that. But I've heard other paleontologists say, well, these animals, because their teeth seem to be evolved for shearing like that, that maybe they're kind of turning their head to the side and just kind of like snipping off small trees, something like that. In which case the cheeks would get in the way, you know? I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, there you go, Claire. Did tyrannosaurs have lips? Did Triceratops have cheeks? Good question. Yeah. I don't pretend that I know the answer to that. But that would be a really cool project for somebody to figure out. Future paleontologist. Yeah. Yeah. So unlike in Stegosaurus over there, where the hind limbs are so much longer than the forelegs, you know, there's a bit of a difference in Triceratops, but it's not as dramatic as in Stegosaurus. Imagine this humerus and radius and ulna stretched out, you know, nice and straight. The hind limb would still be a little bit longer, but not that much longer. Yeah. That's funny, the hand is, we now know, is reconstructed wrong, too. I think it should have 5 fingers? It should. Digit number 5 is missing here, it looks like. Right? Yeah. Anyway, ceratopsian hands. There was a good paper published, I think, in 2009 by Fujiwara, looking at trackways of ceratopsids and looking at a really cool specimen that was preserved in articulation. So, you know, the pinky finger would kind of stick out to the side and wouldn't contact the ground. Yeah. Neat stuff. Yeah. So, yeah. And again, we are at the Western Wyoming Community College, if anybody was wondering. And they do have some cool fossil displays here. Yeah, got a self-guided tour that you can take. It's neat stuff. I would recommend it. Yeah. I got to wrap things up before too long because my crew is going to be getting here, and I've got to go help out with the shopping and everything, buying supplies, so we can set up camp tonight. So we will say goodbye to our Triceratops here. And, yeah, let's go walking back over there. Yeah. And pigs have that toe that do not. Exactly, TMK. Occasionally horses are born like that, too. It's like an interesting mutation that they can get. It kind of harkens back to when horses had multiple toes. Now they've just got one, obviously, and that's their middle toe. Yeah, there's our Elasmosaurus again. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah. And our Stegosaurus. Let's go wrap things up over by the Stegosaurus. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, and if somebody could find a good raid target, that'd be great. Is Science Streams streaming? Who else is on right now? Let's see. Oh, my phone just updated and things look different now. That's weird. I sound like an old man. Anyway, let's see who else is streaming right now. And, yeah. But don't go away just yet. We've got some important announcements and stuff. Not too many people streaming. Interesting. Maybe we'll go raid California Burbs or something. Yeah. There's our chat. Yeah. Anyway, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Again, I'm going to be leaving in just a minute to go do some shopping to buy supplies. We're going to set up camp tonight at our field site out near Green River, Wyoming. And tomorrow we're going to start in on digging up some dinosaurs, and hopefully I can do a stream then. So don't miss it. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be out here until just about the end of June. So I'm going to stream as often as I can. And I would like to thank each and every one of you again who contributed to our fundraiser. You're the reason that we can do this. You know, the rest of our funding fell through. We didn't end up getting any grants or anything. And so, yeah, the reason that this field work is happening is because of you. So everyone who contributed, I just want to thank you again. I can't thank you enough. And I will continue to thank you for the rest of the summer. But yeah. So let's go ahead and wrap this up, shall we? Not sure what time I'm going to be streaming, but yeah. Hopefully I'll have a more regular schedule over the next week or so. But yeah. Let's... There we go. /raid. California Burbs. I don't think there's an underscore in there. There we go. Great. It's going to work. Well, thank you again, everybody. Thank you to everybody who supports me with your donations, your subscriptions, everything else. Thank you, everybody who contributed to the fundraiser and to the solar generator fundraiser, too. I'm going to be using that tomorrow. It's all coming together. Really excited about this. So, yeah. So without further ado, let's, oh, it's not giving me an option to, oh, hang on. That's got to be in the Twitch window. There we go. There we go, my channel, and chat. All right, 10 seconds. I will see you later, everybody. Thanks again. You take care. And, yeah. I'll see you in the field. Goodbye, everybody.